story. Thank you. There's a pro and a con to be going last. They say they saved the best for last. The pro is it's a very good chance you're going to remember what I say because I'm the last one to go. The downside is there's nobody after me. I can keep you as long as I want. So I hope everybody's got their coffee. I got into the Medicare business in 2011 by accident. Financial advisor by trade, worked for Ameriprise Financial for almost a decade, and I needed a way to get in front of customers. And I stumbled across Medicare supplements. I had a health license, didn't really know what it was about. Googling around, and I came across a company called Precision Senior Marketing. And a gentleman called me up on the phone. We talked for a little while. He told me about the benefits of selling Medicare supplements. I listened to him. I went and got certified Thanksgiving weekend. That December, I went to a lady's house by the name of Phyllis. I'll never forget her. And she bought the very first Medicare supplement I ever sold. The gentleman that taught that to me, that stayed my friend along the way, that's been with me through the ups and downs of my careers, is that guy right there, Tony Merwin. Who would have thought 11 years later, you and I would be standing on the same stage? So he will give me credit for introducing him to this virtual world, this Facebook world. All I did was put him into a Facebook group. He did the rest. That Facebook group was Justin's group. It was called Medicare Coach at the time. Now it's Medicare Gurus. And a round of applause for Justin, what he's done. And also Christian as well. I really appreciate what he's did. I wanted to make one little correction. A lot of people don't know. I went out of the public eye for the last year. I have since sold my interests in NationCare, the company that I started. It was a decision that I had to make for a various number of reasons. It was a great decision. I'm happy that I did it. It's afforded me the lifestyle that I have today. But the good part about it is I still maintain a consultative relationship with them, and I'm working on the next big project that's going to launch in January. So I can't talk about it just yet. So today I'm going to talk about telesales. Let's go into the next slide real quick. Just a little bit of infomercial about me. Supposed to get a clicker? Okay. Right now I operate as an MGA. As you guys know what that means. Work with some downlines. I was the national trainer for NationCare Insurance Services. I started it in my third bedroom in the year 2017 by accident. It was not meant to be anything that what it became. In its peak, it grew to a little over 400 agents. Operated a call center that sells Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage plans. And then as a result of that growth of that company, as Tony said, I've gone into a lot of Florida-based call centers and I've consulted them to do Medicare Advantage when they were selling Medicare supplements. Business owner, I have various different industries. I have sold over the phone mutual funds, annuities, supplements, life insurance. I worked marketing for attorneys before, debt consolidation programs and more. And my first telephone sale was in high school. He said 25 years in the business. If you do your math, that puts me at age 46. I graduated high school in 1993. So that's when I did my first telephone sale. I went to a private school. We had to solicit donations. They put me on the phone, and that's what happened. And my biggest ticket to date, I know there are others that have done far more, especially the gentleman that just got on before me, but the largest thing that I ever sold over the phone was a $350,000 fixed index annuity to a person that came to me as a lead as an ACA for his wife. So in that conversation, we started talking, and that was about $24,500 in commission, right before Christmas. Okay. All right, so telesales. Telesales is an art, okay? Next slide. By a show of hands, who sells over the phone? Okay, quite a few. Now, same hands, who sells over the phone exclusively? Okay, quite a few. Hands not up, who wants to sell over the phone? Okay, wants to sell over the phone. COVID did a lot for us, okay? What COVID did was it broke the barrier down between the field sales and the phone sales, okay? There was a shift between the two. There was like a little bit of war, just like Miller Lite, great taste, less filling, Coke and Pepsi. And there was, the Jets and the Sharks. The field guys and girls would scream that the phone doesn't work, and the phone people would scream that the field guys are going crazy. COVID kind of evened the playing field a little bit because it forced those that were in the field to transition over to the phones. Groups like Justin and Christian and ours, we were already strategically positioned for phone sales. So when COVID happened, we were all able to immediately turn on training almost at a moment's notice to help the field agents transition over to the phone. And what I learned over the times is if you're going to transition over to the phone, it's a really good idea to put resources into what it is that you're going to do. And this is an opinion, these are not facts, but the first thing that I think you should do is you should invest in a quality headset, okay? And here's my logic. You sleep about 25% of your life, right? 6-7 hours a day for your whole life. Why wouldn't you invest in the best sheets, the best pillows, and the best bed your money can buy when 1/4 of your life is spent in that bed? Most likely, 95% of the time, your own. Same thing with phone sales. If you're going to work 6 or 7 hours a day with something on your ears, why wouldn't it be the best thing that you can afford at the time? Highest quality, voice detection, noise reduction, comfortable on the ears, okay? My headset is $450. I've had it for 7 years. I wouldn't use anything else. So places you can go would be headsets.com. They sell some of the higher end based headsets. And then of course, Amazon. Don't buy a $20 Walmart corded headset for something that you're going to do 25% of your life. The other thing that works really well is when you have multiple screens. Who here has multiple screens? Doesn't it make the job much better, right? Drag it over, okay? I don't have the best eyesight, so I have a big screen, 27 inches. I don't have to bring my face up to look. I don't have to pull up my reading glasses to see. Invest in a monitor, okay? If you have a laptop, put a monitor right next to it. I travel with a laptop. I visit multiple offices. Every single office has a headset. It has a laptop plug, and it has a monitor just for me. So when I sit down, I put the laptop down, I plug it in, and I'm ready to go. It makes my job easier. I'm not saying you can't do it with just a laptop. What I'm saying is your job will be much easier if you have the right hardware, okay? Create a Zen work area. I worked with this gentleman named Lou Weber years and years and years ago. The guy was like in his mid-50s, hippie dude, smoked a little bit of this, real cool. We were working at American Express Ameriprise. Our job was to set appointments. Appointments would come into the office. That's how I was trained. And he had the highest number of appointments out of anybody. He was like recognized company-wide. And this dude would light candles, he'd lower the light, he'd stand up, and he would just go into the zone. And I watched this guy, and I saw that what he did was he blocked everything out. And he was hyper-focused on his task. We had phone clinics. Anybody back in the insurance days had phone clinics, right? Monday, Friday, Saturday morning. And he would go into his zone, and he would set the most number of appointments. I have adapted his thought process. So the times that I've gone on the phones, the watch comes off, right? Because the watch dings all the time. Cell phone goes over here. There's nothing that's going to happen in my life that would require an emergency. And if it does, and they can't get it that way, they'll come a different way, okay? And then you just block out the noise. Don't respond to your emails. There's nothing urgent, right? It's not like the person's sitting at the doctor's and their Medicare supplement's not working. We all know those things work, no matter what. But create your Zen environment, whatever it is that you need to do to put you in the right space so that when you sit down to do that telephonic session, you're not dealing with the white noise and the interruptions that come from the outside, okay? It'll make you far more productive in that limited amount of time, and it'll put you into that headspace where you need to be to get the most out of it at the time. Because let's call it what it is. Telephonic sales is grueling, right? It's a drag, right? Unless you got people calling you in one after the other, which is not an impossible thing to do, but it takes, you guys saw it, for 2 days, an enormous amount of time and money to get there. It's a drag. So you got to get into that mindset. Next slide. The next thing you want to do is, what are you going to sell over the phone? Are you going to be a jack of all trades or a master of one? I find some of the most productive, most lucrative people that sell over the phone sell one thing, right? They lead with Medicare. They'll lead with, didn't mean to do the middle finger. They'll lead with Medicare. So keep laughing. I'm going to keep you here all. Dinner's not till 6. Lead with Medicare. Lead with ACA. Lead with final expense. Don't mix in your leads. Pick one thing. Go with it. We're at a Medicare conference. For the purposes of this training and whatnot, we'll talk about Medicare. Build out your ancillary products. You don't need 7 hospital indemnity plans. You don't need 4 dentals, okay? I'm in these Facebook groups, and somebody will post what's the best dental plan, and there'll be 25 responses, and one will say, well, I always present 5. I didn't even know there were 5 to present. At the peak of Nation Care, I think we had something like 90 different carriers, and I had to do 70, somebody said 70 certifications. I was around 20 certifications. I think I've only sold 5 carriers through the last 10 or 11 years. Pick one in each category, or pick 2 in each category. Your main one and your backup one, because not every state can you sell your main one in, okay? You don't need 9 different cancer plans. You need 1 or you need 2, okay? That's all you need. Know your products. Have them ready to go. Work with a script. Everybody's got a script. I got a whole Google Drive filled with scripts. My scripts have been circulated through the US, and I've gone to conferences and I've heard people stand on stage and talk about their script that has my language. They're there, okay? They're free. There was a time we thought our scripts, us South Florida boys, used to think our scripts were property and there was value in it, but that is not true. Scripts are free. There's a lot of different scripts. Develop your own. You don't like the ones that we have, develop your own. Use it in the way that you would speak, but have a script. If I were to get on the phones today, I would use a script. I could wing it, but I would prefer to have an outline in front of me. It makes it easier. I don't want to think, I just want to do. Have your rebuttals ready to go. There are 2 or 3, sometimes more, rebuttals for every objection. Somebody says, I want to think about it, I can give you 10 things to come back with them. How do you know which one's going to work? Well, you got to feel out who the person is, okay? Somebody says, I want to talk to my wife, I can give you 10 of those too. Have them ready to go. One might work for you, the other one may not. But when that person gives you that objection, you got to be ready to go right over here with the rebuttal, unless you have it memorized, okay? If you don't have rebuttals, ask somebody. They're all over the place. In my Google Drive, there's 3 or 4 pages of it. Set up your bookmarks on your key websites. This is about efficiency. Person's ready to go, you want to be able to click, click, click right to the app. 1, 2, 3, efficiency, on and off. Move on to the next one. You're going to sell multiple policies, get those multiple policies ready to go. Cut and paste. I'm a left hand and a right hand. Left hand is Control C, right hand moves the mouse, left hand is Control V. You get proficient at it. You may be doing it the other way around. Have your materials and info ready to go in a Dropbox. Why is this important? Easy to find, quick to send. Dropbox, what's the key word in Dropbox? Drop, drop and drag. Pull, drop, boom, out. I use Google Drive. Right here, somebody says I need something, I email it from here. It takes seconds. It's quick, very fast, okay? I get lazy sometimes. Selling a dental product, I don't want to tell a story about Manhattan Life's dental vision and hearing. I'd rather just send them the brochure and say, read it. If it's something you want, call me. Dropbox, move it over, Google Drive. And don't reinvent the wheel. Tap into a system that's already working. Christian, do you have a selling system?
Yeah.
All right, Justin, is he in the room? All right, we know Justin's got a selling system. We got a selling system. Just tap into it. There's no need to reinvent it. Tracy, selling system, okay? Why try to do it yourself when there's somebody on stage saying, hey, listen to me, I'm making $1 million doing this. You can do it too. Okay, next slide. Technology. I am a big fan of technology. Who here does not, right? Who here does not use a client relationship management tool, a CRM? Who here puts their clients on a spreadsheet? Okay. Who here uses a CRM? Right? Perfect. Huge benefit, okay? There's a lot of ones in our space. Go High Level seems to be the main one now. Eric has built out a major platform for that. I see Justin has got one now as well, or he's had one for a while. And then, of course, most of the room has raised their hand and said, I have a CRM. It makes the world a difference. Who here does click-to-dial? You got 1, 2. Who here doesn't know what click-to-dial is? Click-to-dial means that, so you install this extension on your Chrome. RingCentral is the one that comes to mind that is very easy to get. RingCentral is a voice over IP system. It's basically a virtual phone system. Single user, maybe $40 a month. And you get this click-to-dial feature that you make as an extension. And when the lead comes up on your CRM and you move the mouse over where the phone number is, this little handset comes up and you click it and it dials the phone. Think about how efficient that is versus doing this each time. It even is even more efficient where you move the mouse over the phone number and this little like bubble comes up that looks like the old school Apple text message box before iOS 2. And you can send a text message right through your phone system. You don't have to open up and type with your fingers. You can do it with your mouse and your keyboard. When you invest in this type of technology, you become much more efficient. When you become more efficient, you can manage more leads. When you manage more leads, you can make more sales. Okay, it all ties in. Because that's the key to phone sales. The hardest part of phone sales is getting the person to talk to you. It's not selling them. That's the easiest part of the phone sale. The sale is the simplest thing of what we do. We've spent 2 days listening to people talking about how easy it is to sell stuff. It's getting the person in front of you or getting the person on the phone to want to speak to you is the most difficult thing. It's the thing we spend the most time on, and it's the thing that costs the most money. So when you invest in technology and you utilize the technology and you have everything set up in such an efficient way, it gives you the opportunity to get in front of more people, which will then lead to more sales. And then finally, know your laws, okay? Who knows what TCPA is? Not many, but y'all better get to know this. Telephone Consumer Protection Act. It was revised in 13. Different legislation came out in 20. And then they just passed a text message law in 2022. 2021 was ringless voicemails. Be very careful. This has to do with where you buy your leads from. So anytime you buy leads, one of the questions you always have to ask is, are these leads TCPA compliant? Okay? I could spend a whole session about talking about TCPA. Has anybody ever gotten a demand letter or been in a lawsuit for a TCPA complaint? Raise your hand. It will take you over because those lawyers are sharks. I went head to head and I won. My friend, on the other hand, it cost him $250,000. All because he didn't ask, are these TCPA compliant? So most of the leads that you guys get, I can tell you, are going to be TCPA compliant. You got to be really careful if you're buying from lead vendors that aren't vetted, that haven't been referred to you by somebody else, or that you're not aware of. And then DNC, that says DNA. It should be DNC, right? Are they DNA compliant, right? The 23andMe, my long lost cousin. DNC compliant, do not call. You gotta be very mindful of your do not call rules. In the state of Florida, you're not allowed to dial a phone number more than 2 times in a row. I know in the training of final expense, mortgage protection, and Medicare, they tell you to call your leads 3 times in a row. The reason I'm bringing that up is our state has that little bit of a difference of a rule where you can't call them more than 2 times in a row. Know what your state's laws are, your DNC laws, and then also know if you're calling out of state what those laws are, because states like Louisiana and Ohio have very specific DNC laws. In the state of Ohio, you cannot make an unsolicited call to somebody over the age 65 for any reason, okay? So you gotta know those little laws. So if you're calling a state you're not familiar with, just go to that state's DNC rules and know what it is. And then also some states have hours of when you can and cannot call, and they vary. You know, one state might be 8 o'clock at night, and the other state might be 8:30. Next slide. So talking about leads, very important that you have a steady flow of leads. And here's an interesting thing. We talk about CPA a lot. CPA, does anybody know what that stands for? Cost per acquisition. And then the other thing we talk about is ROI, right? Return on investment. There are both good measurements of whether or not your lead campaign is good, okay? CPA is a common thing in the call center space when we are putting together a campaign. We focus on what the CPA is. If you're an individual agent, I would tell you to focus on the RFI, return on ROI, RFI, request for information. I would tell you to focus on the return on investment. Why? As an independent agent, you can penetrate the lead a lot better than a call center agent can. A call center agent is generally one product trained, one trick pony, right? Lead comes in, they sell the Medicare plan, customer goes to the customer service system, and that's the last thing the rep ever talks to that client about again, ever. Independent agent, which is what most of you are, you can build a longer relationship with the person over the phone, and you can sell them multiple products, not just on the first call, but on multiple calls as time goes on. You will penetrate the lead deeper and further. You will get more out of the lead than a call center agent will. So on the call center side, the CPA is very critical because it will tell us whether or not that campaign is worth the money. As an independent agent, the return on investment will tell you, are you getting the right number of dollars back on the number of dollars spent? So think about this for a minute. If you set your mind on the fact that you need every one of your Medicare plans to cost you $100, right? So you buy 1,000 leads for $1 a piece, you go through it, and you sell 10 customers, that's $100 per customer, right? Simple math. If you put your focus in on that, and then the next time you do it, you only sell 4 leads, right? 4, same $1,000, now you're at $250. You may say to yourself, shit, I'm not gonna buy that lead source again. It cost me $250 a client. But that's not the right mentality of the independent agent. The right mentality should be, how much money did I earn from those 4 clients? And what do I think my lifetime value will be? And then you assign that the number, and then you compare that to what you spent on those leads. So if I spent $1,000 on those leads, but I sold 4 Medicare people, and 3 dentals, and 1 cancer plan, and a final expense policy, and Tracy taught me how to sell an annuity, and I took in $7,000 on that 1,000 spend, was that a good return? I would put out $100 grand every year of my life if I knew I was going to get 7 back. I would change my lifestyle, and so would all of you. If I focused on the fact that those exact clients cost $250 each to bring in, and I burned the lead source, not very wise choice there. So as an independent agent, I would encourage you to focus on the return of investment. As a call center agent, I would encourage you to focus on the CPA. The other thing you want to do is you want to work backwards. Working backwards, what does that mean? Think about buying your clients. So I see in the Facebook groups all the time, I just started buying leads from Billy Bob's Leads. Oh my God, how much are they? 25 bucks. Holy crap, what's your closing rate? And what does that tell me? Nothing. It tells me nothing. It's useless information to any of you because somebody bought a bunch of leads at 30 bucks and they close, let's all run and buy them. It doesn't tell you anything. You have to work backwards. And that is you got to know your own numbers. So start with this. How many people you need to speak with, and we'll say the word people, I'll change the word people to decision maker, the buying unit, the person that's going to pull the checkbook out or the credit card. How many of those people you need to speak with to convert into a client? Think about your own numbers. Let's say you need to speak to 3, right? For every 3 people that you present your solution to that's in a position to decide on your solution, one of them becomes your client. The next question you got to ask yourself is, of those 3 people that I present my solution to that are in a position to decide on the solution, how many people do I need to speak with in total to talk to those 3 people, right? Because the wife might refer to the husband, and we all know in the health world, it's generally the husband referring to the wife, right? Little secret there. In the financial world, the wife refers to the husband. He'll attest to that. But in the health world, the husband refers to the wife. A little secret if you didn't know this. So if you get a husband on the phone and you're pitching health or Medicare and it's a couple, you better get his wife on the phone. Because at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, she is the true decision maker. But how many people do you need to speak with in order to talk to a true decision maker? So you write that down. The next thing is how many contacts have to be made, or dials, however you want to call it. How many contacts have to be made in order for you to get somebody on the phone to say hello? Traditionally, a Facebook lead has a low contact rate of about 20%. A direct mail lead has a little bit of higher contact rate, maybe 30%. Google PPC, if you drive the traffic and you control the keyword, it has a much higher contact rate of about 60%. And then when you do your retargeting and you combine all that together and you do something wild and crazy like YouTube, you'll probably be closer to an 80% contact rate. But the question is how many contacts do you have to make to get a live person on the phone? How many live people do you have to talk to get a true decision-making buying unit? So you need to know what those numbers are. And then once you know what those numbers are, you just basically know, you need to know how many leads you need in order to make that happen. So if I want to sell 10 things in a week, and it takes me 3 people to sell 1 thing, I need to have 30 conversations. In order for me to have 30 conversations at a 20% contact rate, how many leads do I need to have? So it's 3 times 5, 150. And if the leads are 10 bucks a piece, I need to be spending $1,500 a week to sell 10 of my things. You got to work that way. And when you implement it that way and you put that into your business plan and you put that into your system, you can have this visualization of what your business forecast is going to look like. And now you're really starting to design a company. And you're really designing a system and a process. You have your technology, you have your systems, you have your products, you have your scripts, your solutions, and now you have the blueprint. Do you think you can replicate it? We replicated it 400 times. When you put it together, it can be replicated. Okay? Next slide. This is a very powerful technique. So the first part I gave you guys was the structure of telephone sales or the structure of a call center mentality. Now I'm going to give you very high-level sales strategies. And I promise you, if you implement this one, the entire course of your business will change. I have a very good friend of mine that we sold Medicare supplements together at a time when you can cold call. And it was prior to the year 2013. Prior to 13, it was okay to cold call. The laws were not the way they were today. So we would cold call turning 65 people. And once we qualified that they were eligible and made sense to buy a Medicare supplement, we gave them a turning 65 Medicare supplement presentation. And at the end of the call, we motivated them to buy a policy. At the time, Mutual of Omaha was the premier one to sell because they had the telephone app. About 2 years later, Aetna came out with their product when they bought Continental Life, and then Cigna soon followed. So those were the three big sellers at the time. So what we would do is once we qualified the person and we gave them our full name and our number, we would ask them these two questions, exactly as written. And the first question, you probably don't have to ask today because of COVID. COVID changed that. But back in 12, 11, 13, 14, buying over the phone Medicare was kind of a newer thing. So the question was asked, are you comfortable with working me over the phone? Why would we ask this? Yeah, I don't want to battle you at the end after 45 minutes that you don't do business over the phone, right? Listen here, buddy, you sound like a nice guy, but I don't do business over the phone. You need to come on down to Lubbock, Texas and meet with me, right? I heard that too many times. So we entered one quick little question. No disrespect, Texans, don't mess with Texas, right? But we put one little question at the beginning of the script, and 1 out of 20 would say no. Would I continue the conversation with that person? Absolutely not. I would manage it, and I would be successful 3% of the time. They don't work with people over the phone. I'm not the guy that's going to change it. But I want to know that in the beginning. I want to know that 5 minutes in, not 45 minutes in. Now, COVID, like I said before, changed the game a little bit. Do I think you need to ask that question today? No. I think more people are apt to working over the phone. It's just a different age. Digital age is very different. We didn't have, Facebook wasn't as crazy and wild as it was then. You got to understand the times are a little bit different. We didn't have all the e-app-based products. I think GTL had an e-app. There were very few. You still had to sign your name that you witnessed the life insurance signature. It was a little bit of a different time. The second one is where you're going to really make all your money. And this is going to be one of the hardest questions you'll ever have to ask because you probably think I'm crazy. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I'm asking them to commit to me, but I didn't even present to them. That's the craziest thing I ever heard. And you know what? You're right. But the craziest thing is that it works. And it goes like this. Mary, I want you to know that we do not charge a fee for our services. I'm not going to ask you to pay me any money today for what I do, and I'm certainly not going to ask you to pay me any money tomorrow for what I do. Our services are free. However, in exchange for our education, time, resources, and services that will be here for you for the rest of your life to service the policy, that when the time comes to make a decision, whatever insurance product you choose, whatever company it is, Humana, Aetna, Mutual of Omaha, whatever insurance you decide to choose, in exchange for my time and efforts, I want you to make that application through me. I want you to do the enrollment through me. Does that seem reasonable? How many people are going to say yes? Just guess. Almost everybody. Yeah, you'll get about 18, 19 out of 20. They'll say, absolutely, that seems fair.
That's awesome.
And then you hold them to the end. Now, will everybody implement at the end? No. Some will go with their brother or their sister. But here's what it's going to do for you. It's going to save you so much time. By a show of hands, who gave a presentation to someone and then the client calls you back and thanks you for all the information they gave you, but they decided to go with somebody else, right? That stops that. I really like how you helped me out, pick out my drug plan, and you spent 2 hours with me. If, or, in fact, you were the most knowledgeable, but Mabel and I decided to work with the boy down the street. You had the most information, so we bought it through him. But I just wanted to thank you, right? They think they're doing you a favor by thanking you. And then how do you feel? You feel like used, right? You feel like you went on a date and you paid the bill and she never called you again. I'm recently divorced, so I make the dating jokes because I'm back in that dating pool and it's like not like it was when I was single. Very different. But you ask that question, I promise you, the entire game will change. And you know when you're going to ask that question? The next time it happens to you, you're going to say, man, that Joe guy, he was probably right. I should start asking it again. We would ask that question of people that received an unwanted phone call in the middle of the day 6 months prior to their 65th birthday to talk about Medicare supplements. When a time when it was considered okay to do that. And we would ask that question and we would not proceed in the presentation because call it what it is, it's 30 minutes on the phone. We would not proceed in the presentation until they gave us a firm yes. And it's a tough question to ask because what value have you given them yet? Nothing. Nothing. You've given them no value. You told them your name. And maybe you gave them the name of your agency and they probably said to themselves, well, I've never heard of that. I'll give you guys a little tidbit before we go to the next slide. What's the kiss of death on a Medicare sale? What's the question? Would you know right then and there?
I need to think about it.
Who are you with? Who'd you say you're with again? I don't mean to keep doing the southern accent. I'm from New York, so anytime I hear the twang, right? So you're on the phone and the prospect goes, who'd you say you're with again? Kiss of death. You better respond lickety-split. You got 3 seconds because they're about to click. Once you hear who you with, it's going. It's downhill. It's over. Next slide. So, beginning of the call, we're going to skip over to the end of the call. The actual middle of the call, that's the meat and potatoes. That's a completely different training. I will start to do more of that training once this trip is over. I have been out of the spotlight, for those of you that know me, for about a year. No rhyme, no reason. My plan was to come and support Christian, which I'm very glad that you did this. Best conference I've been to. Round of applause really quick. Yeah. And then the plan was next year to get back into our Facebook group. Who here has heard of Medicare Mentors? Right? Started that on December 31st, 2017. By accident, it was supposed to be a group that would attract clients to me to sell to. I met a nice young lady named Joanna Wyckoff, and she was a brand new agent, kind of getting shuffled around. She was very outspoken on the internet, and I said to my then wife at the time, we need to make friends with this girl. This girl knows everybody. We need to make friends with her. So built a relationship with her. Come to find out she's a really great person. She's a good person to know. She has a really good heart. I have to say she was my number one fan, by far. She was the number one fan. And it was because of her that Nation Care became what it came. She is not feeling well. She would have been here today, but I did want to give a moment or two and just recognize her. So the middle part will come in the future. But I'm going to go to the end, and this is what I'll end with. So happens all the time. I get sold a lot by different people trying to sell me stuff. And a lot of times I want to talk to them, but I can't. And I would say to them, listen, I really can't take the call. Can we do this another time? And they'll say to me, well, how about Tuesday at 10? And I'll say, sure, that sounds great. And they'll say, all right, Joe, I'll call you Tuesday at 10. And I say, not a problem. And then I hang the phone up. And then what happens? They are a ghost. They are a distant memory. As soon as I hit the end button on my phone, they are out of my brain and they are never thought about again Until when? Tuesday at 10. And what am I doing at Tuesday at 10? I'm not waiting for their call. I'm doing something else. And then I hit the FU button so that I can go and continue to do my something else. And then they send me a text message that's cookie cutter, like they're trying to get me to go into Old Navy because Old Navy's doing 20% off today. And what do I do with that text message? I slide it to the left and I hit the red button that says delete. This is a person that I wanted to talk to before. You need to get very proficient with the definitive next steps. This is the key to sales here. Not everybody will buy on your first call. In Medicare, it's about 50-50. 50% will buy on that first conversation, and 50% will not. So we all know if the 50% are going to buy on the first conversation, we don't really need this because they just bought. But what about the 50% that do not buy? Of the 50% do not buy, how many times do you find yourself chasing them? Right? You got an appointment set for Tuesday at 10, you go to call, where are they? Because it's your failure, not them, ours, my failure. You didn't set the definitive next step. This is a power definitive next step, very powerful here. So you got to paint a picture, right? You got to put them in a visualization mode. So before I set an appointment, I would say to them, how do you normally record your appointments for the doctor, right? You're going to see the doctor. How do you normally record that? Why do I say it that way? Because old people go see doctors. So they'll say, well, I write it on the calendar. So I would say something like, well, do you use the old-fashioned calendar on the wall, or do you got one of them smartphones, right? Some will say, well, my grandson set me up on the smartphone. Fantastic, go grab it. We're going to put me in that calendar. A lot of them will say, nope, I just write it down, or I put a sticky note on the fridge. I want them to think how they put their appointments, right? So now I'm going to go get them to go do that task. So if they put their appointments on an old-fashioned calendar, I ask where it is. Well, it's right next to the fridge. Great, walk over to it. Go to Tuesday at 10 a.m. What's in that box? Well, nothing. Go grab your pen. It's time to write something. Write down my name. Write down my phone number. Did you write it down? Repeat my number just to make sure I gave it to you, right? A little trick right there. And then I say to them, all right, is there anything that you could think of that would prevent you from keeping that appointment? Now, that's not anything innovative, right? You've heard that before, right? Before you set an appointment, ask that question. It's common. But here's the power close. Power close goes like this. So after you're done, I'm going to call you Tuesday at 10. My office will send you an email. You'll get a text message reminder before if you guys are using that technology. If there's anything that'll keep you from changing that appointment, let me know ahead of time, not a problem, okay? Block out the 30 minutes, all the jazz. And here's the question you end with. And you say to them, when I call you Tuesday at 10 a.m., like you've asked me to, and you pick up the phone and we talk, Mrs. Client, what are going to be the next steps? And then you STFU. What does that stand for? That's it. You do not say another word. You're going to get one of three responses. One, you're going to get, well, I don't know. I don't know what the next steps are going to be. Second response you're going to get is silence. And then the third response you're going to get is, we're going to be doing the application like we talked about. By asking that question, you will know definitively of what kind of buying unit you have. Okay? Do you have a buyer in heat? Do you have a buyer in power? Buyer in heat is somebody that's going to buy. All right? A buyer in power is somebody who's going to control you. They're going to control that side of you. So when you ask that question, when I call you Tuesday at 10, what are going to be the next steps? They're going to tell you how to close them. They're going to say, all right, we're going to go through the application, or I'll give you my decision at that time, or I'll know more from my company whether or not the group coverage is going to be available, and then we can move on to what you suggested that we should do. If they say, I don't know, what does that mean? Yeah, they weren't really involved on that call. They're going to be that person that you call Tuesday at 10 that doesn't answer the phone, right? But would you rather know now, or would you rather know Tuesday at 10 because at 9:45 you start doing the get the check dance? Like, I'm going to get some money today, and Omaha's going to deposit it tomorrow, right? And then you dial that number at 10, and then you dial it at 10:05, and then you leave the Old Navy text message, and then you leave the Lucky Jeans email, and you never hear from them again. And then maybe on the offshoot, you get them on the phone a month ago, and they bought from the other guy because the other guy was better. Solidify your appointments. Solidify them. If you believe that not everybody is going to close on the first call, you want to solidify the definitive next step. What is it that you're going to be doing on the next conversation or the next contact? Okay? Establishing what that is. And by asking them what they believe the next steps are, will tell you whether or not that person is a strong buyer or not. It saves a lot of time. It does. Because who here's chased people before? Right? How about where the person's like, I want to do this. I can't wait. Holy God. I'm getting paid on Thursday. Call me up. We're going to do this. I swear. It says, tell me what you need. I'll send it over. And then they go to be a ghost. Right? Because that person's like me. I'll tell you what you want to hear just to make you go away. You're a nice guy. Okay? I wish we had more time because I would do the whole, I got to talk to my wife. That one is such an easy one to overcome. Next slide. All right, so how much time do we have? 3 minutes? That's it? All right. Did I say I'm described as a verbose person? My ex-wife would say, if Joe's talking, you better go get a cup of coffee. It's going to be a while. That's why I'm not married anymore. First thing and foremost is when you're selling to the mature market, people that are turning or over 65, one of the things that you want to try to remember is that their cylinders don't fire as quick as ours do. They're moving at a little bit of a slower pace. They're slowed down a little bit in life. Memory's a little slower. And I can attest to that. I'm a little bit older than I was 10 years ago. My memory is not as sharp as it was then. You want to speak very slowly to people, okay? You have to practice this. This is very important. This is the key in Medicare phone sales, is speaking slowly. Now, Mary, remember when we brought up the Plan G about 10 minutes ago? And I shared with you that no matter what doctor you go to that accepts Medicare, they must also accept the Plan G. Do you remember that part of the conversation? Do you see how slow I'm talking? It takes a little practice. You got to go slow with these people. You really got to go slow. Repeat numbers twice. How much is the Part B deductible this year? $433? $233. Mr. Jones, write down on a piece of paper the Part B deductible. It is $233. That's $233. Every number you repeat twice. Why? Because people write things slow. So as they're writing, their brains aren't going as fast. They're trying to write it down. You don't want them to come back and say, what was that? 200 and what? And then you go in and say, well, that's 233. Well, wait a second, I only got the 2. Well, hold on, it's 233. And then you just jumbled up a couple minutes. You could avoid all that. Just say the numbers twice. Every time you give somebody a number, always repeat it twice. Just make it a habit. It's such a habit that I do it in my personal life. What time are you picking up Grayson? Oh, it'll be at 7 p.m., right around 7 p.m. Right? It's just a habit, right? And then always have them write down the key stuff, okay? You don't ask, do you have a pen and paper, right? Because it's a yes/no question. I can tell you no, and then what are you going to do? You're a salesperson and you call me on the phone and you ask me if I have a pen and a piece of paper, I can tell you no. And then now you have to challenge me. You don't know if I'm lying to you or not. So you assume I have a pen and a piece of paper. Hey, Joe, do me a favor. Before I start telling you all this important stuff. Go grab a pen and a piece of paper. Well, I don't have one. Well, what do you use to write things down with? There's nothing around here. What about your phone? Got a notepad on your phone? Go grab that. Or tell you what, I'll hang on a second. I got to get some more coffee. Go grab pen and paper. I'm sure it's around somewhere. You got a printer? Pull a piece of paper out. Right? Always get them to write down the important stuff. And then I'll end with this one. Who here pitches people driving in the car on the phone? Well, they're in the car on their cell phone. Right? Or what if they're a passenger in the car? What if they're not in their house, on their phone somewhere else, not driving? What do? But do you reschedule right away? No. You don't give them the illusion that you're going to reschedule. You qualify them first. Right? Keep them on the phone, ask them all your qualifying questions. Make sure that they are a buyer in heat, a true buyer. They have the ability to buy your stuff. I get the lead, person says, I'm real sorry, I'm sitting at a doctor's office, I can chat for a few minutes, I want to talk to you. Do I go and reschedule the call? No. Because what if the person's working at their company and they have a really robust group plan and they have 3 dependents on it? There's 0 chance that I'm selling them a Medicare product. So I'd rather know right then and there so that I can move on to the next one and not have to worry about calling you back and doing that whole callback little dog and pony show. Point of the whole thing that I was saying, and I'll end with this, is that you want to present to people only when they're in a position to act upon your presentation, right? For most people, that's going to be when they're at home and when they can get in front of a laptop, a tablet, or a computer. I realize you can do applications with your mobile phone, and there are some people that just have their mobile phone, but you want them to be in a position where they can do an application. That's really what it is. You don't want to give them your information and all the things that you can do for them when they can't act on it, right? Because then you'll have to go and then chase them around. And we all know what happens when you chase people around. You don't always catch them. So, a little psychology. So with that, I thank you very much. I appreciate being up here. I thank you, Christian. It's been great. This was really cool.